Hello everybody and welcome to this video where we take a look at building the ridiculously tiny 1/144th scale AV-8B Harrier from Revell. There is already an unboxing video of this kit where I explain that it is of course not a Revell kit. They reboxed it shortly before releasing their own tooling of it, so there are of course two AV-8B Harriers that you can get with a Revell box. If you haven't seen that video, there should be a link appearing on screen and down below as well. I suggest you check that out, because of this video we're carrying on from that and we are building the thing. If you're new here but you like what you see, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and you could also do me a favour by hitting the like button as well. And in common with my other build videos, this will not necessarily be me discussing every single piece glued to every single piece. It's more of an overview of the build and a little review of the kit at the end. I believe the tooling date for this kit is 1989 and was first done so by Dragon. Interestingly, Scalemates now seems to have removed this from that thread. You know how there's a little map of products on Scalemates? Well, it's no longer there. It's its own separate one, and it confirms it's 1998 that it was released, but it simply doesn't mention who tooled it. I have looked through the instructions of that Dragon kit and they do match, therefore I'm pretty certain that that's what this is. I have counted a total of 63 parts. There is just one decal scheme included with this release, and I haven't put a price because it's not available anymore. I think it would be disingenuous. I got it for about £6 or something on eBay. Once the parts are removed from the sprue and tidied up, it's down to painting the interior. We have a one-piece pilot block blob thing onto the seat that just goes in the side of the fuselage, and that is the entirety of the interior detail. There is no engine detail in this kit at all, which is not very helpful. And I guessed probably a dark grey colour. I can't remember the specific that I was using. I just found a suitable dark grey and painted it. Of course, I had to fit the pilot on the grounds of, well, there's no alternative. You don't get a choice. You have a pilot. You have a pilot but no engine. And then it's at this stage that I put the thrust nozzles on. They do not have an option for moving them. You have to just glue them in the position that you choose. I opted for about 45 degrees. So we're not looking at level flight, nor are we looking at vertical flight. We are looking at maybe short takeoff kind of nozzles. At this stage, I hadn't decided what I later did, which is not fit any undercarriage. I did it with the wheels up. So maybe it's doing an air display or something like that, even though, of course, as we know, it is flying without an engine. But these parts are absolutely fine. They're just glued in on both sides. And then you have the engine intake as well, or the cover for the intake, whatever it is, again, just on both sides. And then the next step is more or less just to glue the plane together. We have a one-piece starboard wing and a one-piece port wing rather than a top and a bottom, and it's the same with the horizontal surfaces. There was no cleanup really needed with this kit. The instructions were reasonably clear, and you really can just assemble it in a couple of hours once you've painted the pilot and the inside. There's not really much else that you need to do. You can see that the level of detail isn't too bad, and we have these nice recessed panel lines across every single piece. So despite the origins of this kit, it was actually a fairly enjoyable build up to this point. And now we get to the weapons. You can see here the way the instructions breaks this down. This is matching the box art in terms of the correct ordnance as per the box art. However, from pictures, I don't think this is correct. I couldn't find any picture of a Harrier with a loadout like this, and the parts are both overscale and horrendously fiddly at the same time. I think the best word of advice I can give for anything in this scale is get a decent pair of tweezers, and thankfully I have several shapes and sizes available to me, which made this bearable. Speaking of tweezers, they're being used to apply what I assume are the landing gear doors. They don't really have any detail on them, and they just look like raised little bumps in the middle of the fuselage, but well, what else can they be? You do also have this on the outer wing strut things, outer wing wheels, those supports. You have that there as well. There is no sign of the actual wheel, which I think would be visible if I recall correctly. And well, then we have these external fuel tanks, which again appear to be overscale. They don't have any real indexing points, so I don't really know where they go. You just have to base it off of the instructions. And now that I've done the nozzles at 45 degrees, they almost catch. So they look a little bit silly. But I did want to put them on, so I did the best that I could, and the result is acceptable, although it does look a little bit silly. You'll also note that I've not actually used any filler at this stage, which is in part due to my laziness, and in part because the fit actually wasn't too bad. But that's when viewing it as a kit. When you try and view it as something accurate, you go and ruin it by sticking, for example here, the canopy on, and you see that it doesn't quite fit. It's a little bit low, so there's a gap between the front of the fuselage and the front of the canopy, and of course the entire shape just is thrown off as a result. It looks a little bit silly. It's obviously a Harrier, but it doesn't look like a very good Harrier, does it? I'm keen to see if the 2005 Revell boxing, as in their own tool, is any better than this and gets the shape right. So I may have to make another purchase just as a comparison. Let me know if you're interested in that. Meanwhile, we are now getting ready with the paint. The Revell painting instructions don't... I mean, they tell you what to paint it, but it's typical Revell. It's A, B, C, and you mix bits of grey with bits of white to get a different grey, and then you do a different ratio to get a slightly different grey, and oh, it is incredibly tedious. I have a Vallejo set for modern American aircraft, which is essentially just a box of different greys, and looking it up online, these are the 3 greys that would be used on Harriers of this scheme. So that is what I have done. Obviously the pattern is the same, and you can work it out even though it's black and white call out, but it would have been helpful had they told me, for example, it's light gull grey or dark ghost grey or something like that, rather than just throwing numbers and letters and ratios at you. You also see that I didn't mask the divide between the top grey and the bottom grey. Now, I was spraying this with a 0.2 nozzle on a Fender airbrush. I cannot remember the model. You may have already seen the name pop up. By using such a fine needle size, I was able to get a pretty good finish. You can get really good control over the airflow with this, and the airbrush was pretty new at the time as well. I was using this as one of the models to test the airbrush on, so it was nice and clean and factory fresh before some idiot goes and pours paint in it and gets it clogged, and inevitably it ends up not working as well. And rather than freehand the darkest grey on the top, I did use blue tack to mask the approximate shape as best I could. This was mostly based on photos online rather than just relying on the instructions. Some companies I'm pretty happy to just assume that the instructions are correct, but this is not one of them. Once done, everything was given a coat of Vallejo gloss varnish, just sprayed liberally over the aircraft, and it's time for the decals. And they're really good quality considering how ridiculously small they are. Obviously we don't have really fine stencil details, you wouldn't be able to see it on an aircraft of this size, but there are still small bits of text and small signs just to get the impression across, as well as of course national insignia and unit numbers and aircraft serial, etc, etc. These decals have presumably been sitting in a box since the 90s, so I was really happy that they went on very well, although of course being very small, they are a little bit difficult to manoeuvre, and it's very easy to just give them a tiny nudge and send them way too far, so repositioning them was a little bit fiddly. But you don't expect to make an aircraft this small and not find it fiddly, so that's not a critique of the model, it's just setting your expectations realistically. The final step then is the weapons, and these are horrendously overscale, much like the pylons, comically so, as you probably saw right at the beginning. I had to attach them with super glue. I would rather do it at this stage and do it this way than use polycement, just because I want that quick drying. You can run a little bit something like Tamiya Extra Thin, but then it's just going to melt the paint rather than the actual plastic. So the super glue allows you to paint all of the weapons, which again I just mixed up a colour I just guessed. Much better to paint them first and then glue them on with super glue. You do notice that the bombs are a little bit wonky. That is entirely my fault. It's not that easy to get them on straight, so surprise surprise, I didn't. And with that, the tiny Harrier is done. Now, should I have displayed it on its undercarriage? Yeah, I probably should have done, but because they've gone to the trouble of giving you a pilot, I did want to have a flying Harrier, and I quite enjoyed what I did with the F-15. Again, another video if you want to have a look at that. I quite enjoyed doing something a little bit different, and whilst I haven't got any immediate plans for this one, it's better to have it flying ready now. Although I suppose because it's a Harrier, I should have done the wheels down and hovering anyway. That would have made sense. Well, oh well, it's too late now. The lack of an engine is horrendously irritating, and it shouldn't irritate me as much as it does. But because they give you a pilot so that they give you the hope of being able to do a flying model, you'd have thought that they could just do one bit of plastic with just a little bit of a rendition of the engine. But no. So you can have a pilot melded to a seat flying a plane that physically wouldn't be able to fly. So there are two different ways that I'm going to review this. As something to do, as a way of passing time, just because, you like making scale models, then yeah, fine. If you've got this one in your stash, yeah, there's no reason to not build it. Just don't set your expectations very high. It is okay. It didn't require parts being reformed. It didn't require tons of filler. It didn't require loads of sanding just to try and get parts together. It assembles fairly easily. But you can tell that this is generations out of date. Scale modelling has come on a long way in terms of, the quality of the kits that you can get these days. Just make something like this look a bit rubbish, but without any of the charm that you would have from, for example, an old Airfix kit or an old Matchbox kit or something like that, which very enjoyable to make, and they still have some sort of appeal. This just feels lackluster. So if you've got one in your stash, then yeah, by all means make it, but I wouldn't seek this out. And then the other way I'm going to look at it is as a model of a Harrier, the subject matter. Well, it's definitely Harrier shaped, but I'm not convinced that it's particularly good as a model of a Harrier. I mean, I'm not an expert on, well, I was going to say modern jets, it's not even that modern, but I'm not an expert of this era of aircraft at all, but it doesn't look right to me, and I think it's probably because of the canopy and because of these ridiculously overscale weapons. I mean, just look at the size of them. They're just bulging on there. I mean, on the box art you can see fairly small bombs and fairly small missiles and things, and then you glue on these ridiculously oversized things, and you'd be much better just leaving them off, in my opinion. So yeah, a bit disappointing, but I wasn't really expecting too much. I was intrigued by this series of kits, and I do have more. If you haven't seen the unboxing video, then you'll see that there's 4 that I bought, but I've actually got more 144 scale aircraft that I will be making as well. So I was intrigued by it, but this one falls very flat. In all seriousness, I wouldn't recommend you buy it. If you see it on eBay for a couple of quid, spend the couple of quid elsewhere, because you're probably going to get more enjoyment out of something else. And on that note, I'm going to leave it because, quite frankly, I'm bored of looking at images of this thing. It just annoys me. I've already put it on the top shelf where it can't really be seen, and it will probably not last long and will end up in the bin at some point. But hey, at least it killed a few hours of my life and gave me a chance to test both these paints and the airbrush. Let me know what you think. Do you have this kit? Do you agree? Do you actually think the weapons are correct? And maybe it's a model of a model Harrier, like a 3/4 size Harrier or something, and the weapons are in scale. I don't know. Just let me know down below if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, dislike, hit the notification bell, whatever you want. Just somehow obey that algorithm. And if you're feeling very generous, you could even become a channel member like these people on screen. They just help motivate me whilst I'm sitting at the desk making models that I feel very underwhelmed by. Well, I suppose if you're not very whelmed by something, if you have mediocre expectations and then it turns out it's mediocre but at least looks vaguely like a plane, then I guess I wasn't underwhelmed. I was correctly whelmed. I was whelmed. This kit whelmed me. And on that note, goodbye, and I will hopefully see you for a slightly better 144th aircraft in the future.